Mercury retrograde in the hopper. Solart's astrology communique, an 8-day calendar, February 21st to March 1, 2026. I'm the author and host, Mary-Laurence Bevington. I almost called this The Rest is Silence, but decided to go with the current title because we do have a Mercury retrograde in the hopper, and that tends to bring a lot of movement inside of us when we consider what might occur. Welcome. Thanks for stopping by this week's communique and calendar. All times given are Eastern Standard Time, Greenwich Mean Time -5. Love ya. I published this on Substack, Buy Me a Coffee, as well as Patreon. And I always put a picture, sometimes my own, but often ones from Unsplash. So if you're able to see this, Christian Queenie did this. I love it. It's mountains above the clouds, and there's a person high on a ridge line. It's just a remarkable image. So yeah, we got that going for us. Okay, here I begin. Last week we focused on how to stay grounded, how to abide in the hurricane's eye. This week we explore the musicality, tragedy, and rhyme of time. I spent a week at Fairy Meadows Hut in Canada's Selkirk Mountains in 2003. It was a mystical experience in the backcountry with uphill and downhill skiing, feasts, wood-fired saunas, reading, dancing, and deepening connections with friends. On the Tibetan-Chinese turn of the lunar year, that same year, there'd been an avalanche, also in the Selkirks. Tragically, 7 children perished. Thankfully, a few were rescued. Yeah, if you ever want to look up that avalanche, it was called the Connaught, Connaught. Separately, but days after this avalanche, my brother, big brother, died suddenly. I'd resolved to go on the Fairy Meadows trip as a way to unravel my grief, and as it turned out, our guide had been one of the first responders when the avalanche in Canada occurred. Our guide had an angelic vibe and look. He sampled the snow each morning, perused the logbook with handwritten accounts of each day for countless years prior, sat with topographic maps, and then briefed us on our ski tour plan for the day. Then, and all together, we were off for the intercontinental snow atop glaciers and framed by blue skies. We didn't bring up the tragedy our guide had been a part of very much, if at all. But the trip, perforated with laughs, carrying axe, whoops, and hugs, held something somber within it, like the way shadows formed on the leeward slopes. I'd trained in avalanche safety, a requisite for backcountry travel, starting at the age of 20, and refreshed on again, off again on snowpack, equipment use and practice, weather, slope aspect, self and group rescue. In theory, I understood what it might be like to escape, to be hit by, to be buried by a rushing, cumulus cloud-like wall of snow. Fortuitously, I'd evaded avalanches and often by a wide margin. I did, however, know people who'd lost their lives in avalanches. A deer, a boyfriend, acquaintances, famous outdoor athletes I admired. On March 19th of that year, the US invaded Iraq as part of the global war on terror. Now, in 2026, more avalanches have fallen, as the US postures to invade Iran to cover up the Epstein files, and all in sync with a Lunar New Year. As fate would have it, 2026's second new moon was coupled with a solar eclipse and an 11 numerology. In those same moments and the hours afterwards, I found myself deep in the blues, navigating a dark night of the soul from whence I knew not where. I sorted through it, journaled, and otherwise soothed until I caught the news to distract myself from ruminating. And the news had to do with another avalanche. This avalanche had happened a few hours prior and in California's Sierra Mountains. Devastatingly, 7 women and 2 men had passed, some teachers from a local school, mothers, guides. Miraculously, 6 were rescued. Sadness palled, but also gave me a place to put my inner emotions. I prayed, meditated, and received kindness from others. As all passed, I was able to grieve from afar and hold light around the communities grappling with loss. As I was collecting myself, I realized that this new avalanche had occurred on the anniversary of my big brother's passing 23 years ago. And as his smallest descendant, his baby granddaughter turned 115 days old. A question arises in Maggie O'Farrell's novel Hamlet and in the movie of the same name. The question comes from terrible misfortune, the death of a child. Where is Hamlet? Where is he? Where is Hamlet? It echoes again and again, clearly and by way of metaphor. 'Tis a cry to the one-way portal into the watching underworld. And, quote, the rest is silent, unquote. Hamlet's last words, spoken to Horatio from the Tragedy of Hamlet, the Prince of Denmark, Act 5, Scene 2. Eclipse season continues as our sun streaks in lunar node land. Right now, said lunar nodes are in Pisces and in Virgo, have been since January 11th, 2025, and will be until July 26th, 2026, 726. Please note that eclipses may usher in permanent change. Our moon Luna debuts in this new year of the Yang Fire Horse, according to the Chinese and the Tibetans. All gave way to a new lunar year right after the new moon solar eclipse on February 17th at 28 degrees 50 minutes of Aquarius. Fun fact, our friend Uranus is in the latter part of Taurus and will enter Gemini come April 26th for a 7-year sojourn. The Tibetan and Chinese snake aligns with Taurus in Western astrology, and their horse, the animal for the year 2026, with Gemini. I have a couple misprints, which I will correct. I'm not saying them. I'll actually, they're typos that I'll have to go back to. The Saturn-Neptune conjunction at the 0 degree plus 45 minutes, aka the first degree / the creator point of the ecliptic of the zodiac, occurred on February 20th. While Saturn and Neptune conjunct about every 36 years, this goes considered part of a multi-millennial cycle. For you see, this coming together on that degree hadn't happened in 6,387 years. Perhaps we're in a new age. Keep in mind that when conjunctions occur, a magnification of each planet can happen. They become larger than the sum of their parts. And Saturn and Neptune are quite heavy hitters, bringing a marriage of structure and spirituality. You see, the last time these two planets came together at the first degree of the ecliptic occurred in 4361 BCE, before Common Era, and when humanity was in the late Neolithic Stone Age. Imagine stone tools, primitive agriculture, including livestock, emerging from hunter-gatherer ways of living, villages here and there. Sumer and Egypt would not come for another 1,000 years and change. The Bronze Age loomed in the distant future, as did literature. Moreover, Saturn and Neptune are 60 degrees from Pluto and Aquarius. The two are also 60 degrees-ish from Uranus in late Taurus. This 60-degree aspect, aka sextile, is considered a relatable and quite sweet geometry. It arouses an Age of Aquarius vibe. If you start at Pluto in the beginnings of Aquarius and move all the way to where Uranus will be in the beginning of Gemini, come late April, you'll see 120 degrees, a harmonious trine. A total lunar eclipse arrives on March 3rd at 12 degrees 54 minutes of Virgo. So the rest of this is um, essentially a calendar of days going from February 21 to March 1st. I have a little sky overview, and then I go through each day with a little bit of a focus on the moon. And you're more than welcome to subscribe. I also do little shorty um, videos. I'll bring it back to this picture here. Videos on YouTube each day, actually, with the where the moon is, so Luna's sign, the numerology, the color frequency I see in my meditation, and often a little bit about the astrology. So, like, for example, February 25th, 26th, Mercury goes into retrograde, and I'll certainly say that when I do those videos for that day. I think we're complete. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you and yours in carrying the light.